AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing in Baton Rouge. I'm Matt Moscona. We are live today from Court to Table on Burbank in Baton Rouge. Awesome spot. This had previously been Oasis in the Shed, if you know where that is, on Burbank. And Gordon McKernan and a group of investors in Baton Rouge came together, bought this property, renovated it. They've opened it as a pickleball concept, and it is awesome. Even if you don't play, and I don't play, but nothing, I just haven't played. Even if you don't play pickleball, no worries. There are 5 indoor courts, 5 outdoor courts. And then there's a beautiful courtyard area covered where they have live music on Fridays and Saturdays, TVs everywhere. And then where we are, there's the restaurant and the Funky Pickle Bar. We're in the Funky Pickle Bar where they have, we're sitting on one of the indoor courts in here where they can have tournaments here. There's tall top bar tables, a giant U-shaped bar where you can sit around. There's comfortable booths. There's shuffleboard. There's cornhole. I came here with a client in early July and was blown away. Food was awesome. And came back on the 4th of July with Erica and Drew because this was such a great family place where he doesn't really sit still, but he could get up and walk around. And so Erica and I were able to just sit in one of the booths while Drew just kind of walk up, and he would meander and wander a bit and then make his way back. And it's fantastic. And this will be I promise this will be your new favorite place to watch football. As I look to my left, there's one of these giant screens where it's like 4 screens in one. I think it's probably that's probably 10 feet long. There's the giant projector over there. There's probably 20 TVs in here. When you go outside, there's TVs everywhere. The point is, like, for Sunday ticket on NFL, for Saturday, it's going to be an awesome, awesome spot for your football Saturdays, Sundays, or any day here at Court to Table. And by the way, the food's outstanding. I had a piece of salmon for lunch. I've had the fish tacos before. I've had guac and queso. Everything. Bo had a pizza earlier today, a flatbread. Like, everything is awesome. It's a chef-curated menu. They did an outstanding job. So come on by. Join us tonight for the Hall of Fame game. Drink some ice-cold Bud Light, courtesy of our friends over at Mockler Beverage. Got some 104.5 ESPN swag as well, hats and shirts. So hope to see you here for AFR or tonight for the Hall of Fame game at Court to Table here on Burbank. Oh, we went to break, and I was talking a little bit about that, how the College Sports Commission has loosened their prohibition on NIL payments. And it was interesting, the timing, because there's a piece out today as well where it affected, I'm trying to think of the way to say this. They sort of list the power brokers in college sports. This is from CBSSports.com, and the title of it is Meet College Football's Kingmakers, 22 front office executives who are revolutionizing how rosters are built. Well, Austin Thomas is on this list. And there's a lot of people, like some names you would recognize, some you wouldn't, like James Blanchard, who is the general manager at Texas Tech. And, of course, Texas Tech is one of those programs that has come out of virtual oblivion, where they only had a very small sliver of relevance under Mike Leach. And other than that, in their entire history, they've been largely and completely irrelevant. Well, they've been able to use their Texas oil money and utilize it in this era to become a competitive football team, what they hope will be a more competitive team. And the guy in charge of all that is James Blanchard. There's Wes Fritz, who's at Houston. It's Willie Fritz's brother who's there. Billy Glasscock at Ole Miss, who's doing the same thing as their GM. Former LSU quarterback Brandon Harris is the GM at the University of Texas. Brandon Harris hasn't even turned 30 yet, y'all. I mean, it's pretty incredible to think of what he's been able to do there in just a short amount of time in his young career. But he went from being on the recruiting staff there at Texas to now being their general manager, and he's the one in charge of building out their staff. So you got a lot of dudes like this. And yes, Austin Thomas, Barton Simmons, formerly of 24/7, who was hired by Clark Lee there in Nashville. And Austin Thomas is on that list as well. And this quote in this piece came from one anonymous general manager who said, quote, "Austin Thomas is the mastermind, the blueprint, the process. He's just so smart and innovative." And I will tell you, when Les Miles hired Austin Thomas back a decade ago, and then when Ed Ogeron took over for Les Miles in 2016, they created the general manager title because Austin's ambition, I remember talking to him a decade ago, and his ambition was to be an NFL general manager. And I'll be so fascinated to see, and candidly, I've not had this conversation with Austin since, so I don't know if this is the case, but I'll be so interested to see if college athletics, if these general managers of college teams start getting poached by NFL teams. And I don't know if that'll be the case, but in the same way that college football has basically become a training ground for the NFL, it feels kind of like these college front offices, which are being built in the mold and the image of NFL front offices, might end up being the same thing, a training ground. Like, it used to be that college coaches got hired by the NFL because of the general lack of success. You don't really see that as much anymore, but I'm wondering if we might see this more with these front office people being hired. Like, a good example, like Preston Tiffany was on LSU staff. It's a name I know a lot of fans probably don't know, but he was one of those guys who was working as the director of player personnel, and he just got hired by the Philadelphia Eagles to work in their front office. The Philadelphia Eagles are the reigning Super Bowl champion. The Super Bowl champ just came and plucked a guy off of Austin Thomas's staff, which goes to show just the value there in identifying talent and building out your roster and allocating your resources as such. So it was an interesting read just to look at and just to see how all of this may continue to develop and evolve as we move throughout this new and modern era. But the one thing I would say maybe that's at the sort of the tip of the spear here is having Austin Thomas back in this role. And it's a major hat tip to Scott Woodward, because Scott Woodward was Austin Thomas was Scott Woodward's hire. Scott's the one that identified and made the decision to bring Austin back and put him back in the football operations office. And listen, this was a year ago in the fall. Beth Rex, who was Brian Kelly's chief lieutenant, had been for a decade, left, and she wasn't fired. But what was happening was Scott hired Austin Thomas, planted him in the football office, and more of Beth Rex's autonomy and role were being taken away and given to Austin, and so she made the decision to leave. And I understand that, and that's like, I'm not saying it's a good or a bad or right or wrong. It's just the way they decided to move through and divide responsibilities, and she didn't want to do that. That's fine. But as the picture keeps getting painted, it becomes clearer and clearer that this was the right decision, because you look at just in one calendar year where LSU's roster was, where it is now, where the collective was, where it is now. I certainly think losing Kelly Zinn hurts on the revenue generation side, because she was so creative, is so creative, and so impactful there. She's now at Rutgers, so you're going to have to replace that. But yes, I think we can turn back the clock to Scott Woodward's decision to bring Austin Thomas back, to implant him, so to speak, in the football program, and to give him that autonomy and to work as the general manager and to hire his staff as he has done effectively. You're already seeing the benefits. Now, we got to see it manifest on the field, right? They got to go win games. But there is no debate. Like, this is an objective truth. The roster is more talented today than it was a year ago. The NIL collective at LSU, Bayou Traditions, is healthier today than it was a year ago. They're in a better position with rev share today than they were a year ago. It's like the coaching staff, the support staff is better today than it was. All those things are better. So hat tip to Austin Thomas, and that to be included on that CBS Sports piece is certainly appropriate. Now they've got to go make it happen on the field, and that's where the coaching staff comes into play. Just like in the NFL, the front office puts the roster together. The coach has to maximize the talent. That's what you're seeing now. It's no longer just the head coach recruiting and building their board. Like, you have a front office that's managing player personnel, recruiting events, NIL, rev share, all that stuff. Of course, the head coach is going to have a say in all of it, be in the center of it, but you have to have the staff in place. And then once you get all that talent here, it's on the onus on the coaching staff to now go coach it. And we'll see what this coaching staff can do with this group of talent, which is certainly good enough to win any game on its schedule. I'm not saying they're going to win every game, but they're certainly capable of winning any game on their schedule. Okay, it is after further review. Our Thursday shows are presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing in Baton Rouge. Whether maybe you've been handed an unfortunate diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis, maybe you're caring for an elderly parent, maybe you're bringing a newborn baby home from the hospital and you need help. Remember, the expertly trained nurses at Decision Critical are here for you. It's not just healthcare. It's healthcare for your lifestyle. They will provide expert in-home care for you and your family. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com. Go to the website to schedule that discovery call at decisioncriticalbr.com, decisioncriticalbr.com. Okay, y'all, it's after further review. We're here at Court to Table. We're here for the Hall of Fame game tonight, so y'all come join us. 5 outdoor pickleball courts, 5 indoor courts, 3 full-service bars, tons of fun family activities like Big Jenga, Connect 4, Cornhole, Ping Pong, Shuffleboard, and pickleball. We're here at Court to Table and looking forward to seeing many, many, many of you here tonight throughout the show, and then, of course, tonight for the Hall of Fame game. All right, we'll knock out a quick break. We'll continue. I want to talk a little bit about what I think is maybe the most important position battle outside of quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. We'll get to that next on AFR.
AFR.
GLO, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions at Glow Resources. My buddy Jareth Knockin's done an awesome job, man. They've built an enormous company on the Baton Rouge top 100 private companies in Baton Rouge. And a big way they've been able to do it is how they've expanded. I mean, offices in Miami and Orlando and Houston and Mississippi, and they service companies literally all over the world. But when I talk to Jareth, they're so clear, like, home base is still Baton Rouge. Their corporate headquarters are on Perkins Road right next to Pennington. Baton Rouge and New Orleans are still the primary markets they service for businesses right here. So if you're a business owner, if you're an HR manager, a hiring manager, an operations manager, and you're struggling to find the right people for that job in your business, Glow Resources can help. Check them out online at GLO. glowresources.com, glowresources.com. Complete employer solutions.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
We had Kai Kroger, punter from South Carolina, and then we let go of Hunter Decker's quarterback. Obviously, just making that move there as we go, and we'll see how everything progresses moving forward. The injury things that we had talked about, Juwan Trayton and John, Juwan was limited in practice. The other two did not participate in practice. Obviously, it'll be a little thing. It'll take a few days for those guys to get back into it, but they'll be fine, nothing long term.
That was Saints head coach Ellen Moore. Talking about the decision to sign punter Kai Kroger and the corresponding move waiving Hunter Deckers. Kai Kroger is a name that maybe is familiar, certainly is familiar to me because he's a punter that South Carolina took to SEC Media Days a couple of years ago. And listen, he was awesome at South Carolina, at least early in his career. In 2022, he was a first-team All-American. Had a down year in 23, came back in 24 and had a really good year where he was a second-team All-American. And then both in 22 and 24, he was first-team All-SEC. So he was like a really, really good college punter. I think Brad Wing, like great college punter. And But he went undrafted because who drafts punters unless if you're the Saints and you draft Russell Erxleben 11th overall. But Kroger went undrafted. He signs as a UDFA with the Jets back in May after the draft, like this past May, a couple months ago. So he starts camp with the Jets, and the Jets cut him waived him on July 27th. So just 4 days ago, they waived him, and now the Saints have signed him, and Alan Moore explained why.
Yeah, we just really liked what Kai presented the other day. He came in for a workout. He did an excellent job, and so we felt like he'd be a great addition to the competition. And, these rosters are always moving. They're always little pieces and adjustments. We got enough flexibility within our roster to handle it for the time, and so we'll see how it all progresses.
It's just so interesting because you wouldn't have 3 punters on your roster if you were happy with your punting situation. Like, I do understand that just like with quarterbacks where you have camp arms, you kind of have to have camp legs as well. Like, if you're going to work on the punt team, someone has to punt the freaking football. So you don't want your punter kicking the ball 100 times a day. Like, you can get leg fatigue and you can get injured, and there's a lot that goes into that. So you need sort of a camp leg in the same way that you would need a camp arm. But I also look and go, like, having 3 punters in camp is odd. By the way, play number 2, Muse, this was Alan Moore talking about the decision to have 3 punters in camp.
Yeah, we'll just see how it progresses over the next little bit, and if we have to make any adjustments, we'll be good. But we feel like we got three really talented punters that can all compete, and so it'll be a fun opportunity for all those guys to go for it, and we'll get the reps that we need.
I guess so. I mean, there's the news, and then there's what's really going on. Well, the news is that you're bringing in a third punter, you're waiving a quarterback in Hunter Deckers to bring in another punter, and you got 3 punters in camp, which you just what's the old saying, like with quarterbacks, if you got 2, you don't have any? Well, same here. If you got 3 punters, you don't have any. So you got Matthew Hayball, who stunk last year. James Burnip from Alabama has a huge leg, but the consistency's been an issue. And now you brought in Kai Kroger. So you got 3 punters right now in camp, and it feels, by the way, all 3 are SEC punters. I mean, Hayball's from Vanderbilt, Burnip's from Alabama, and Kroger's from South Carolina. So these SEC specialists just dominating the Saints. I look at that and I go, this is wide open. Like, the punter job, it may not be something we're talking a ton about in the context of the entire Saints team, but when for a decade you had Thomas Morstead who held down that spot, and you just didn't have to think about it. This is something it feels like we've had to think about every year since Morstead has been gone, and this is no exception because now you've got 3 punters, all with very relatively little to no experience whatsoever. So in any event, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll follow. We'll see how it all goes. But Hayball punted 75 times last year for the Saints, averaged 44 yards per punt. He's the incumbent, but they wouldn't keep bringing in guys to take his job if they were confident with him. So something worth watching here as they move forward. All right, it's After Further Review Thursday. Shows presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing in Baton Rouge. Remember Parish Construction and Roofing? Yesterday, the weather yesterday was atrocious. In our studio, we were talking about this here with Brian Neal, the manager at Court's Table, because with all that bad weather, they lost power here for a little bit. And I told him, I said, look, when we're in studio at our building downtown Baton Rouge at Guarantee, that's like a bomb shelter. I mean, it's like there are no windows. You're insulated from the world. Like it's almost like being in a Vegas casino. There are no clocks. You don't know what time it is. Like you have no idea what's happening in the world. Like you exist in that little creation. But man, I'm driving home and like there's traffic lights that are out and power's out. There's down tree limbs. It was an awful storm. There was hail all over the Bluebonnet area in Baton Rouge. So if you experience that bad weather, and basically if you're in Baton Rouge, you did, and points beyond, you might have had issues with your roof. Let us come help you out. Parish Construction and Roofing. Go to parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Fill out the form on the homepage, or you could always just reach out to me. Like, I'm more than happy to help facilitate. You can text me on my text line. You can tweet me. You can email me. Hit me up. I am more than happy to help facilitate getting one of our inspectors to your house. Remember, we always offer free, no-obligation roofing inspections. That is so important to know. And even if you don't call us, nobody should ever charge you for a roof inspection, just so you know. Like you should never pay for a roof inspection. And you should never have an obligation. Never sign a contract with anybody after a roof inspection. Like, you should get your inspection report, be informed, and you make the decision. We'd love to help you through it at Parish Construction and Roofing. ParishBuilt.com, ParishBuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. Parish Construction and Roofing. Former Tiger great Will Blackwell is going to be with us here in 6 minutes from right now. The position group battle that I am watching in Saints camp more than any other, outside of quarterback, is cornerback. And I feel like we've talked about this a little bit, but maybe not enough, because for so long, it feels like that spot, especially with Marshawn Lattimore, was locked down. And the investment you made in that position with Paulson Adebo there as well, you felt like you were good with Lattimore and Adebo, and then Adebo gets hurt, and then you drafted Alontae Taylor, who's certainly a better nickel safety than he is boundary corner, but played boundary corner last year and really struggled. And so you go into this season having drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry a year ago and thinking maybe Kool-Aid's ready to be a starting NFL corner, but the other spot is just a gigantic question mark. And, Kellen Moore, who, as we noted, doesn't often say much, when he was meeting with reporters on Wednesday after camp, he was asked about Kool-Aid McKinstry and the job he's done in camp so far, and he actually had some interesting things to say about Kool-Aid.
This has been a big-time camp for Kool-Aid. He's played phenomenal. His confidence every single day, he's just making a ton of plays, and you can just see his ability to transition in the coverage game is really, really good.
So, to hear something that descriptive, to say this has been a big-time camp, he's transformed his body, that's about as descriptive as you'll get from Kellen Moore. And he went on when he was asked about what his impressions were of Kool-Aid when Kellen Moore, took the Saints job.
Certainly felt like he was going to be, like we've always talked about, that second year big jump. Sometimes that first year, obviously for him, dealing with some injuries, slows you down a little bit in that first year. This was going to be a second year jump. We felt really confident that was going to be. When I was in Philly, we thought really, really highly of him. And, certainly Brandon did, during the draft process the year before as well when he was in San Francisco. So we felt like, we were going to create a really, really good opportunity there for him.
Maybe that's a big part of why they were willing to let Paulson Adebo walk in free agency, because they invested the second-round pick into Kool-Aid McKinstry and said, we believe we have something with this guy. And the decision a year ago, now this wasn't Kellen Moore's decision, but a year ago when they traded Marshawn Lattimore, which appears to be at this point the right decision, they were moving on to get younger at the position, and they identified Kool-Aid, and maybe he's ready, and it would be awesome if he is, because then you'd lock down one side. Then the question becomes the other side. Well, Quincy Riley is a guy that we talked about during the pre-draft process because the Saints brought him in for a top 30 workout. They went and did to his pro day at Louisville. They put a ton of time into Quincy Riley, and we talked a lot about him as a projected second or third round pick. Well, they end up landing him on day 3 in the draft. And look, he had an interception of Spencer Rattler on Wednesday that Kellen Moore highlighted.
It'll be awesome one to watch on film and just have those conversations with the players just to make sure we're good. I thought it was a good, initially there was certainly we gave ourselves a chance. It was a good ball. Unfortunately, I think Quincy made a phenomenal play going and attacking the football, similar to Julian a couple days ago when he was in here attacking the football. I think our DBs are doing a great job of locating the football, and we got to clean up on the offense side to see it and give ourselves a chance.
And then one more on that. Because remember, if Kellen Moore's gushing about Kool-Aid on one side, could Quincy Riley be the other cornerback? This was Kellen Moore on his impression so far of Quincy Riley.
Yeah, he finds the ball and he attacks the football. I think that's one thing that we saw on film coming into the draft process. He's a ball guy. That's what you need on the back end. Mistakes are going to happen, but when you create turnovers, those impact games.
Okay, maybe it's Isaac Adam. Maybe. But you're talking about a guy that basically has been a rotational player and a backup in his career. Maybe it's Isaac Adam to start the season. Maybe it's Alontae Taylor. I don't know. But I can see a world where, in my purview of the New Orleans Saints, I know a lot of you don't like me saying this, but I don't care what their win-loss record is. I don't expect them to be good this year. They literally, quite literally, have the worst odds of all 32 teams in the NFL to win the Super Bowl. Earlier this month, ESPN did a roster ranking. They ranked every team 1 to 32 based on the roster. The New Orleans Saints were 32nd, dead last. I have zero expectations of this Saints team winning a lot of games, going to the playoffs. I have no expectation. What I want to see is progress to see if you can lay the foundation with your young players. And this is a great example. This position battle at corner is a great example of it. Because if Kool-Aid McKinstry, a second-year player, was a round 2 pick, and Quincy Riley, a rookie who's a day 3 pick, end up becoming your starting corners, and they become viable starters for you, this is how you start to build a roster that can win a championship. Because you have young players that you drafted that become starters that are on affordable deals, and that frees up money to be able to go pay good free agents to supplement your roster. Now, you still got to figure out quarterback, obviously, which is the most important, and maybe that happens this year with Shuck and Rattler, and I get why we're spending so much time on quarterback, as well we should. But if you're a Saints fan, you should be pulling hard for Quincy Riley and Kool-Aid McKinstry to be awesome and prove they can be starting NFL corners, because if they are, that is a case in point of what you need to have happen with your draft picks to end up building a contender, because we saw it in 2006. We saw it again in 2017. Go back to 1981, which, those are the 3 greatest drafts in Saints history. Look at them, and it parallels the 3 greatest eras in Saints football history, because you were able to draft starters, which made your roster a talented, affordable roster to then be able to go forward good free agents to build a contending roster. Watch the cornerbacks. All right, Thursday shows are brought to you by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing in Baton Rouge. Former Tiger All-American Will Blackwell joins us next on AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area: Seagan near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Don Moore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Hey, if you have mosquitoes, let's be honest, we live in Louisiana. Everyone has mosquitoes, right? I don't. Come to my house. Well, actually, don't come to my house. You're not invited. But if you were invited, you came to my house. I have a pool and I have a pond behind my house, and we do not have mosquitoes. And the only thing I use is the Aeon mosquito barrier that I got at Clegg's Nursery. I've told you about it before. It's like $30. It's the size of a track baton. You put water in it, fill it up to the fill line. It's got granules in it. Shake it up, hang it on your property line, and you're done with mosquitoes for 90 days at a time. It's wild, but it works. And if it doesn't work for you, then you're out like $30. But try it. If you have mosquitoes, go to Clegg's. Ask about the Aeon mosquito barrier at Clegg's Nursery.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
We've made it pretty known, what our goal is. And our goal is to go 1-0.
Brian Kelly has said it all off season. It's a giant logo on the big old screen at the indoor facility. They've got it everywhere. You've heard plenty about it. It's been a giant talking point since media days and even before. LSU's looking to break their 5-game losing streak in opener. 3 of those have been under Brian Kelly, and they're trying to do it facing their toughest opponent, which is a true road game at Clemson, who we all assume is going to be a preseason top 5 team. This will be LSU's toughest opener since 2011, when it was a top 5 matchup in Arlington against Oregon. Will Blackwell was an All-American offensive lineman on that 2011 team, and he's good enough to join us here to talk a little bit about it. Willie B., how are you, man?
Hey, what's up, Matt Moscona? How's it going down there in BR?
It's awesome. Fall camp is here. Not nearly as brutal as the fall camps that y'all used to have with Les Miles, but they're off and running, man, and heading toward this Clemson game. I want to cover a lot of ground with you, but I kind of want to tap into what you remember about that 2011 offseason leading up to Oregon, because I seem to remember there was a real heavy focus internally on that game. Is that how you remember it?
Yeah, of course, Matt. And, that's probably one thing we should really always give credit to Les for is he kind of started the big preseason game format. I remember actually 2009, the end of 2009, he brought us together as a team and gave us the option to play North Carolina in Atlanta, 2010. And after we all, of course, unanimously decided, let's play that game, he kind of threw in, maybe the next year we'll have somebody bigger. And then, of course, soon after the next year, we figured out it was going to be Oregon. And I think his main argument and what it really kind of always did, Matt, from a training perspective, was it gave you something to look forward to, especially when you're 8 or 9 days into camp and you're going against the same guy for, at that time when we were doing 2 days, it's been 20 practices. It gets hard to stay focused. You're tired, but when you know that there's another team lining up the top 5 matchup, you don't really have a choice to lay down or be tired. So I think it's a great motivator. I just don't understand the disconnect between being motivated and playing great that Kelly's kind of seemed to fumble a little bit.
What is your observation there?
I don't know. I guess you could say the first one, I guess, would have been Florida State, New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's a tough matchup either way. We missed a kick at the end. We're in that game. What was it? Next year we played them and they beat us pretty bad with Jordan Travis. That was a special team for them. Probably should have performed better, but we all know how defense and everything turned out. So yeah, that's kind of two tough breaks. You don't necessarily hope for that, but I can't argue against the motivation that it provides in summer workouts and August camp.
Would you prefer?
It's a huge gamble, but it's a huge reward.
Would you prefer to play the marquee open? You were a freshman. You redshirted in 2007. Where y'all played Mississippi State. 2008 would have been Appalachian State. 2009 was Washington. 2010 was North Carolina. 2011 was Oregon. So you played one kind of crappy opponent, the Appalachian State. I know they build it against the national champions playing each other, but it was a crappy opponent. Would you prefer the crappy opponent or the marquee opener?
No, I think you go to LSU thinking first of all that you can win every game, and you think that you're going to be playing the best talent. So I don't believe that any of those guys wouldn't want to play in a marquee matchup. I would actually kind of be disappointed if they didn't.
Okay.
This is every week of the SEC. I don't see that the first game is much different, really.
Will Blackwell is with us. The other big difference between now and when you played, and I was talking about this earlier, Will. This is my 19th fall camp that I've covered, and some of those. So I know, right? Some of those fall camps under Les were just, God, they were just. It was just so brutal. He was trying to grind you all into dust. This is so dramatically different, and so they're trying to balance getting guys ready to play, but listening to the medical science, the analytics, and all to take care of these guys, to preserve them. Where do you fall on that conversation?
I love it, Matt, because I don't want to have a guy that's fully bought into the technology and the analytics, and I don't want a guy that's fully bought into the Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes. We got to run the Oklahoma drill and do the big cat and try to murder someone. So the fact that you and we trust you. A lot of us trust you as a very solid source within the program, and for you to say that Kelly and Baker and those guys are trying to float somewhere around the middle on that scale, to me, that's important because, man, you got to get out there and you got to beat each other up. You got to find out who's tough and who's not. But there's a point to where it's a detriment to your body, and this is a very long, grueling season, and they finally come around to believe that is a fact, as opposed to let's see how many times we can practice these guys and try to break one of them.
Did you feel that in those fall camps that they were?
Yeah, but then again, like you mentioned earlier, the game itself and the culture around the game is so much different. We were kind of on the tail end of that's just how football was. That's how every football camp until then was ever done, and that's how they were run. And you were going to run 2-a-days in your sweaty, gross, stinky pads with your sprained ankle, and if you didn't want to practice, then you go to the second team, and that's just kind of how it was.
It's so interesting, too. And Will Blackwell's our guest, who was an All-American in that 2011 season, by the way. But it's Will, it's not that long ago that you played. It's not like we're talking about the Junction Boys in the 1950s.
It feels like it.
But it doesn't. But it does. But exactly, because the game has evolved so much, it does feel like it was a lifetime ago. We got a couple more minutes, so I want to pick your brain on a few other things. You're also a guy that started your career as a defensive lineman, converted to offensive line, and then became an All-American. When I ask you about some of the cross-training that's happening right now, like Carius Kern's a freshman that's learning to play left tackle. DJ Chester was a center who's now moving to guard. How difficult are those transitions for those guys? Maybe a better way to ask it, Will, is like, what's a realistic expectation immediately for those guys switching positions?
Well, I think first of all, it depends on athletic ability. Obviously, I would probably consider myself middle of the road in terms of defensive line, right? If you have a guy that's above average athletic ability, that takes a couple of weeks or a little bit of time out of the training process. However, the biggest switch from the way I did it, from defensive line to offensive line, you don't ever really see it the other way around, was just the mental aspect. Especially when you grow up playing defense, Matt, you if you're an edge rusher or a defensive tackle, you can brute force your way into being a good player. If you're quick, you got a couple good pass rush moves, you can still be okay. I mean, obviously got to keep your contain or stay in your gap, whatever. When you're playing offensive line, you can't afford to make a mistake. You got to know the playbook. There's not a okay, I only have to watch this one guy. You got to know what everyone's doing. It's more in unison. So I guess having to rely more on your mental capabilities and a quicker recall than just like, okay, I'm going to go up here and rush this guy and I got to beat him and get to the quarterback.
It's so funny. I'm glad you went there because so when Brian Kelly met with reporters yesterday, effectively the one offensive line spot that's locked down, he sort of conceded, is Braylon Moore. The Virginia Tech transfer is going to play center. Now, they had DJ Chester there last year, and he started all 13 games, but Chester has even acknowledged to the media, like, he'd rather play guard because all of the things you just said that go along. And he's also a giant, and huge offensive linemen don't typically play center. So if I asked you, like, the most important position on the offensive line, like, is, even if everybody else is in a new spot, Will, is starting with a guy with 40 career starts or whatever it is for Braylon Moore at center, like, is that the starting point that you want to build around?
Yes. If you are in a lab or in a draft war room and you get 5 picks and you're going to pick first, yes, you're going to pick the smart, experienced, athletic center. Now, not that can't be overcome, right? Center is the most important position. However, if one of those guards is, above average or smart, if you kind of overcome a few of the mishaps. I'm not trying to touch on 2011. As P.J. Lonergan and T-Bob were both very good centers, but at times that they did battle injury or there was a little bit of rotations, less like to rotate those guys. It does kind of throw off the timing. We were okay because the other guys could pick up the slack, right? And that's really what we talk about when we talk about offensive line. We do want our center to be the quarterback, quote unquote, of the line, but it's a unit. It's a squad. It's like the old game where you're all tied to a string and you got to keep the string together. And if somebody gets out of line, it pops. It's just a perfect analogy that comes to my brain. 4 guys do everything right. One guy does something wrong and it's a negative play.
I wish we had more time. Let me ask you one more. How good do you think this line can be, even losing 4 basically having 5 new starters all in new positions?
Well, you talk about the experience. We brought some experience in from the kid that's playing for Virginia Tech. The other guard is going to be the kid from Northwestern. You got Chester. So they all have played and do have experience. And I think they can probably hone in on that, Matt. But as you know, it's all about really building trust and relationships. And if the coaching staff can put those guys in the right positions in the next 4 to 5 weeks to where they feel comfortable and can rely on each other, then, I think we have enough skill and talent around them to kind of help them elevate their game. It's
former All-American Will Blackwell. Always appreciate the visit, man. We'll do it again. Thank you.
Good talking to you, Matt. You got to bring me to the table next time I'm down there.
Dude, I swear, next time you're here, tell me, give me a heads up. I would love to bring you out, man. Bring you, your family, on me. We'll come eat and drink. It'd be great.
Sounds great. Thanks, Matt.
All right, brother. Be good. That's former Tiger All-American Will Blackwell. Appreciate his time and his perspective. Really, just a really good conversation. All right, we're here at Court to Table. Remember, tons of space for events, LSU watch parties, fantasy draft parties, that great business lunch and learn, birthday parties. Matter of fact, I'm coming back with 14 family members tomorrow. My wife's birthday was yesterday. My niece's birthday was on Tuesday. So the whole family's getting together here tomorrow at Court to Table. I'm telling you, come experience it. You'll love it. Hall of Fame game tonight. I'm hanging out for the Hall of Fame game, so come join us here at Court to Table on Burbank. Let me knock out our final break of hour number 2. Muse will do Tigers of the Pros when we continue next.
After further review.
Action Industries is a proud partner of LSU Athletics, and they're an amazing industrial contractor. Exemplary safety record and awesome quality work, which is why they've been around for 43 years, because they keep getting hired. And you don't get hired inside the fence if you don't have an exemplary safety record. They beat the industry standard. And at Action Industries, they do so much more. Look, they've got the Advanced Turnaround Group, right? So the Advanced Turnaround Group is a subsidiary of Action Industries. So it's the same company, right? It's just their turnaround arm of the business. And the Advanced Turnaround Group has so many different services they offer, which set them apart. 24-hour availability for emergency, specialty welding. They give you great personal attention, and these are people whose entire careers are centered around completing your turnaround safely and effectively. It's the Advanced Turnaround Group over at Action Industries.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
All right, Sean Salisbury will be with us right after SportsCenter. We move into hour 3. We always appreciate our friends at Decision Critical Concierge Nursing in Baton Rouge. Not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. Schedule that discovery call at decisioncriticalbr.com. Decisioncriticalbr.com. Muso, Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, MLB trade deadline is about to hit right here at the top of the hour. The Tampa Bay Rays and the Los Angeles Dodgers, they had a trade earlier on Thursday that involved a bunch of players, but 2 of them were LSU guys. Paul Gervais is being sent to the Los Angeles Dodgers in exchange for Hunter Fiducia, who's going back to the Rays. Gervais made his MLB debut this season with Tampa Bay. 5 appearances, I should say, in ERA of 4.2. Hunter Fiducia, of course, spent time with both the big club, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and in AAA with Oklahoma City. Some NFL news as well. Terrace Marshall is officially now out of Eagles training camp with a knee injury. That is per the Philadelphia Eagles. He went down on Tuesday with some friendly fire. They just turned it a leg, but now we know it was a knee. He was helped off the field in that situation as well. Some Major League Baseball actual action from a night ago. Cole Henry on the bump in relief for the Nationals, and did not go well. 2/3 of an inning, gave up 2 hits, 3 earned, walked a guy, didn't strike out anybody, also surrendered a home run. That home run was in the 6th inning, and it was a 3-run shot with 2 outs. So, man, needed to get that last out instead the ball sailed over the fence on him. But he'll bounce back, still sporting a nice sub-4 ERA there for the Nationals. He's been great so far since making his debut. That's Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com. Rouse's.com also celebrating 65 years in business. Man, they've been a great partner of ours. Love telling you about Rouse's. You know, there's 70-some-odd locations from Lake Charles to Orange Beach, Alabama. And y'all, the truckload sale is going on right now over at Rouse's. So get on by through August the 6th and save big. How about $1.97 a pound for medium or St. Louis style pork ribs. $12.99 right now for 40-ounce pack of right bacon. Amazing deals. You can find them right now. The truckload sales going on at Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Rouse's, this feels like home. All right, y'all, we're hanging out at Court to Table, fired up to be here. The NFL preseason gets underway tonight. It's the Hall of Fame game up in Canton, Ohio. The Lions against the Chargers. If you missed it earlier, Trey Lance is going to start for the Chargers, the former number 3 overall pick. And despite that, the Lions are I'm checking an updated line right now, but the Lions at last look were a 1.5-point favorite. They still are. So the Lions are 1.5-point favorite in this game, and the total in the game is just 33.5. Typically, preseason games, it's almost like an auto play. You bet the under. However, the last 3 Hall of Fame games have gone over the total. So if you're a total degenerate and you are just aching to bet on football, what an awesome opportunity. There's no better place to watch it than right here at Court to Table. I'm fired up to be hanging out for the game after the show finishes. So you knock off of work, grab your buddies, come hang out with us at Court to Table. I want you to experience this place. It'll be your new spot for football this season. Hour 3 next.
After further review.
As we put a button on hour number 2, remind you about the Williamson Eye Center. Hey, I actually got a notification today. I got a text. Honest to goodness, man, I got a text today. I can't even I guess I could make this up, but I'm not making it up. Got a text earlier today acknowledging, here it is, at 11:06. At 11:06 this morning. Matt, our record has indicated it's time for your next eye exam. To schedule your appointment, call 924-2020. 924-2020. 924-2020 or williamsoneye.com, because you should always get your annual eye exam. So call 924-2020. 924-2020 for the Williamson Eye Center, or you can always go to williamsoneye.com. Not just for you and me, adults, but back to school is right around the corner. Make sure you get your eye exam for your kiddos before they go back to school. You want to be able to see the board or see their computer, whatever the case may be. The Williamson Eye Center can help with locations all over Greater Baton Rouge. WilliamsonEye.com.